a lot of this stuff that used to work and used to allow mortgage pros to win doesn't work anymore. And yet we're still operating from the same old playbooks. And what happens is we end up being at the effect of the consequence of just being a me too marketer. You've got competitive rates, me too. You've got all these creative alternative lending programs, me too. You've got a great brand, me too. It's like, so what? You're a replaceable commodity. But if we discern and decide we're the right fit, mark my words, you will not only close more deals with less effort, you're going to have a whole lot more fun, and you're going to be a whole lot more fruitful in the process. The question is not whether or not I'm going to identify 10 elite agents in this area that we're going to absolutely send stratospheric. The question is whether or not it's going to be you. That's the mindset behind a value creator.
Hi, friends, and welcome to this very special episode of the Art of Mortgage Marketing podcast. Today, we are covering a very, very special topic. We are talking about the dozen deal difference, and this is specifically focused on Doran's latest and newest book that he has just released. It's called The Dozen Deal Partner Formula: How Top Producing Lenders Attract Elite Partners Who Send 12 plus deals a year without cold calling. Doran, welcome. Love to have you here on our podcast.
So good to be here with you, Penny. It's been a hot minute since we've done one of these episodes. We've had some content curating in the crock pot of content creation. And today is the culmination of that. So super stoked to dive in with you on this today.
Me too. I've had an opportunity to read the book, so I am super pumped to dive into it with you today.
And likewise, I can't wait to hear what I'm about to say.
Beautiful. Well, why don't we dive right in today, Doran? Let's ask you, what inspired you to write the book?
It's a great question. Well, first and foremost, it was overdue. Well, it wasn't just due, Penny. It was overdue. As you know, I've been doing this a long time, over 2 decades. And to not have a book done, I mean, come on, Doran, get with the program. 2 decades, get with the program. It's time to give birth to a book. So we finally gave birth to the book, my friend, after 2 decades of pregnancy. That's a long pregnancy. So yeah, it's first and foremost overdue. It was time. It was certainly time. There was a lot that was germinating over the last 2 years. The gestation period certainly was lengthy, but I feel like the baby was worth all the labor pangs. So that's the first reason, is because it was time. And the second reason is this is our superpower. This is what we've been working on for 2 decades. And a lot of failure, a lot of iterating, a lot of trying things that didn't work, and certainly a lot of discovery of things that did work. And over 2 decades, this is really the culmination of all that testing and tweaking and analyzing and reiterating. The book is the culmination of that. And I truly feel like every marketer strategically should be asking a very important and strategic question to get the most power out of what they do in terms of shining their light and shining it bright in the marketplace, where they really truly become a beacon of light for those whom they serve, and they differentiate. So they're not just a me too marketer. Everyone's doing X, me too. Everyone's doing Y, me too, but they have a distinct and clarion image, brand, and impact in the marketplace that really makes a difference. That's so unique that it's like they become how moths flock to the porch light on a dark summer's night, right? They become that beacon that people flock to. And that question is, what's the one thing that I am uniquely equipped to be the best in the marketplace at? What's the one thing, based on my experiences, my failures, my challenges, my story, my background, my gifts, my talents, my abilities, my superpowers? What's the one thing that I'm uniquely equipped to really make an impact in for those whom I serve? Not to just do what everyone else does, but to do something distinctly better and best at. And for us, not to brag or be braggadocious, but really to be honoring to the gifts, talents, and abilities we've been given and the strengths and weaknesses we have. The one thing that's just become so self-evident over the last 2 decades that we're particularly uniquely gifted at is teaching mortgage pros how to take the shortest path to the cash. And that is attracting elite realtors who send 12 plus deals a year without cold calling. And that's what we call the dozen deal partner. It's got a nice ring to it, doesn't it? The dozen deal partner.
Absolutely.
So this is the result of all that failure and testing and tweaking and analyzing and refining. And the result is literally over $10 billion worth of funded deals collectively from our clients have used this formula over the last decade in particular. And what I love about this formula, Penny, is that it's all about elegant simplicity. It's about getting more with less. It's about getting maximum juice from the squeeze, because we're not talking about the bottom feeders, the part-timers, the struggle bunnies, the mediocre middle who maybe might be able to have the capacity to send you 1, 2, 3 deals a year. We're talking about the top dogs who have the ability and capacity to send you 1, 2, 3 deals a month. And when you land those kind of partners, it doesn't take many of those to change your life. And what's beautiful about it is they're insulated for the most part from market shifts. We're going to talk about that more in a moment, but they're least and last affected by market downturns versus first and most. So those are the ones who are taking market share in a down market. And those are the ones who will continually and consistently be able to send you 1, 2, 3 deals a month, even in the face of a down market like we've been facing over the last 4 years. So that's why we've been doubling down on the dozen deal formula over the last 4 years out of necessity, really. And what's beautiful about it is it allows you to thrive even in unthriving times. It allows you to win even in an unwinning market. And that's the key to winning consistently, regardless of rates or inventory. And that, my friend, is the holy grail to winning in any market, not just a fair weather market.
Wow, that's incredible. It really does sound like it's your superpower here, Doran. So super excited to dive in even deeper today. So one of the things that came up in the book, and sort of something that you've alluded to there a moment ago, was that a lot of mortgage pros think that more partners equal more business. And in fact, you're saying the opposite. So what's the math that proves that one elite partner beats 5 average agents?
That's a great question, Penny. This is going to be surprising for a lot of people because chances are they've never thought about it this way. But when you really grasp the money math on this, it is profound. Simple, but profound. So let's just say your average commission per deal is $5K. I know some people, it might be 3, it might be 4,500, it might be 7K. Lots of different ranges depending on where you're located, what your average home values are. But on average, let's just say for simplicity's sake, your average commission is 5K. Okay.
Sounds good.
With that as the basis, if we take 10 average agents and 10 elite agents and we juxtapose them side by side, here's what we see in the math. And this is very stark and very powerful when you understand this. The average agent, if we have 10 average agents, these are ones who maybe have the capacity to send you 1, 2, 3 deals a year. So let's just say they're on the upper echelon of average and they're sending you 3 deals a year, right? So if you have 10 of those, that's 30 deals a year, correct?
Yes.
I went to public school, so my math's pretty bad. So let me know if I get any of this math wrong, okay? Call me out on it. Thank God for the calculator. That's all I can say. Thank God for the calculator. So with 5K per deal and 30 deals a year, that's obviously 150K per year, right? Pretty good.
Yes.
Better than most. So, hey, even the average partner is going to be able to sustain you and keep the lights on and make a decent living, even if they're only sending you 3 deals a year. But check this out. Imagine having 10 elite agents who have the capacity to send you 3 deals a month, okay? Or not even that. Let's be conservative. Let's just say they're sending you 1 deal a month. They have the capacity to send you 3, but let's be conservative. Let's just call it 1. Would you agree that's conservative if someone's doing like 15 plus buyer sides a year?
Absolutely.
Right? So 1 deal a month, which is obviously 12 deals a year at 5K a pop, and a cumulative total of 120 transactions for the year. How much is that for the year? At 5K per deal.
We're talking 600K.
We're talking surgeon money, baby. Freedom money, 600K per year. 10 agents is still the same number, but now you're making like 5 times more without having 5 times more work or 5 times more hassle or 5 times more drama. In fact, you actually have less drama because who do you think is more likely to babysit the deal and be freaking out, wondering how they're going to pay their bills if that deal derails? The average agent or the elite agent?
Oh, absolutely. The average agent.
Right? Who do you think is going to bring more drama and trauma because they're not as high level as of a leader when it comes to leading themselves and or their clients? The average agent or the elite agent?
I can speak from experience on this one. It's definitely the average agent.
So you're telling me that not only do you make less money with the average agents, but you have a whole lot more drama and trauma and all of the energy sucks and the energy vampire experiences that come with having people who are filled with more fear, more stress, more anxiety, and have less leadership capacity by filling your stable of agents with average agents versus elite agents. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
It's like you're reading the mind of a mortgage pro.
Right? And on top of that, who's most likely to be affected by market downturns? Who's most likely to be first and most affected by market downturns versus least and last? The average agent or the elite agent?
Well, most definitely the average agent, the onesie twosie agent.
Absolutely. Those are the guys who've been dropping like flies over the last 4 years. True?
Absolutely.
Those are the guys going back to selling solar, driving Uber, 9 to 5 prison. And the reason for that is because they don't know how to market. They don't have strong leadership. They don't have the right mindset. They're not as resilient. They're more likely to have fear incapacitate them, and they shrink back like a turtle into their turtle shell. And so that's why they become, in most cases, with rare exception, the victims of the market downturn more than most. And the top dogs, they're the ones that are most likely to be taking market share as their competition and the crowd of their competition thins. And we've seen that over the last 4 years. The top dogs, they're the ones taking market share. They're the ones that expand into the challenge because they have the leadership, the emotional, mental, spiritual fortitude, and the thick skin to know how to win in the wild, right? It's not the wind that's the problem, right? In the storm, the chickens and the turkeys, they cower, they hunker down, they hide. But what do the eagles do? They soar higher. And that's what elite agents do. And so that's why we are all about soaring with eagles, not scratching around the chicken yard with the chickens. Does that make sense, Penny?
It absolutely does. So now you've intrigued me here a little bit, Doran. So I'm going to pick your brain a little deeper on this.
Okay.
So we're talking about elite partners or the dozen deal partner. So what does the dozen deal partner actually look like in terms of monthly production? What are the specific criteria you should be looking for?
Well, production is important, and we'll get into production, but that's not the only thing that's important, of course, because it doesn't matter how productive an elite agent is. If they're a prima donna, if they're a drama queen, if they think their poop don't stink and they're super prideful, they have the pride the size of Texas, as one might say, that's probably not going to be an ideal partner, right? That's going to be a battery drainer. You're going to loathe working with them, and you're going to feel like you're their proverbial lone bitch because that's how they treat you. And that's not entreating. That's not life-giving. That's not fulfilling. Doesn't matter how much money you make, that's not going to give you a fulfilled life. Would you not agree?
I 100% agree.
Chances are you've had personal experience with that, true?
Oh, yes.
So it's not enough just to focus on the metrics, but there's some hard qualities and soft qualities that we want to be cognizant of when we look at who is our ideal dozen deal partner. And both are important. So when it comes to the hard qualities, which are measurable statistical prerequisites, we want someone who is in our target market, obviously, starting with those that are local. We want to start local and expand provincially or statewide, and then maybe even to other states or provinces, depending on where we're licensed. But it's always easiest to market and to cultivate relationships with people local, because then we can connect face-to-face, belly-to-belly. We can go play golf. We can go for a bevy. We can go to the barbecue. We can connect, right? We can have that face-to-face connection. So someone who is local in our local license market, if at all possible, although our system works remote. So it could also be through Zoom if you're in a different state or province or location than where you're licensed, or you're in the Bahamas in your pajamas and you're rocking your business poolside. That's cool too. That's one of the beauties of having a mortgage business, right? You have that freedom and autonomy and independence to do that. There's no shame in that game. And ideally, they're doing 15 transactions a year on the buyer side, because that means even if some are paying cash, even if some fall through the cracks because they're married to a mortgage broker or something like that, you're still going to pick up on average around 12 deals if and when they make you their exclusive. Right now, a lot of these top dogs, they're doing more than 15 buyer sides, and that's even better. But as a minimum, I recommend 15 buyer sides. Now, you might be thinking, Dorn, I'm in Canada. I don't know how to determine how many buyer sides these guys are. I'm not a licensed realtor. I don't have access to the MLS, in which case we go for top-notch real estate agents that have a great reputation online. Ideally, they dominate on Google with 5-star reviews. So when you search for a real estate agent in your market, whether it be Toronto or wherever, you search and you see all these amazing agents that have like 200 plus 5-star reviews. That's a pretty good indication that they're a top dog if they have that many reviews. Is that making sense so far, Penny?
Absolutely. Sounds like someone we should be going after.
Right. And then, of course, there's going to be other criteria we're going to look for after we start to interview them. Say, what, Dorn? I'm going to interview them. I mean, they're a top dog. I'm just a little small fry. How would I have the gumption and the gall and the audacity to interview them? Aren't they going to be interviewing me? Well, yeah, if you keep doing it the hard way, they will be interviewing you and they're going to chew you up and spit you out because you're just going to be a replaceable commodity, another mortgage parasite, another loan leech. But when you learn the secret sauce in the dozen deal formula, it changes the game. Now we flip the script, and so now all of a sudden they need you more than you need them. And now you're in the power position. And now you're the one who's vetting before we even talk about what they're getting. But that's what we want to look for at a bare minimum when it comes to the criteria for a dozen deal partner.
Very good. Wow. Well, this is exciting, Doran. So being as I was a student of yours at one point, now part of your faculty, I've seen some wonderful success stories. And so I would love if you would take a minute and share one of the success stories with us. Give us the before and after of one of your more recent success stories. Let's hear it.
Well, this one is hard to come up with, Penny. I could give you so many because we've been doing this for a long time, 2 decades. But the one that just leaps off the page and leaps to mind right from the get-go is one of the most recent ones, who was struggling right smack dab in the middle of this market shift. He reached out to us about a year and a half ago, and his name is Mark Liberio. He's a really cool cat. He's got a strong Filipino accent. I often would chide him and say, dude, you sound like a Filipino telemarketer. Was that ever a hang up for you? He's like, no. He owns his Filipino self. No shame in that game, which is beautiful. But where the shame was coming is because he came from the banking space and he came into the mortgage space to have higher upside, juicier income potential, more freedom, more autonomy. But a few months in, about a year into trying to win in the wild, because in the banking space, he was relying on branch referrals for the most part. And he was doing okay. He was making about 90K a year, something like that, as he launched into the broker side. And he was used to making around that. So he was doing okay. The problem is that no one really taught him how to hunt in the wild like a wild Kodiak. He was a bit like the bear in the zoo. He was, used to having the zookeeper throw meat over the fence by virtue of having those branch referrals. And so he didn't realize, he didn't know what he didn't know when it comes to learning how to win in the wild like a wild Kodiak. And sometimes we just don't know until we're out in the wild and we're like, oh crap, I got a family to feed here. And speaking of family, he went from, being engaged to his now beautiful bride, but at the time they were engaged with their marriage forthcoming, to getting his wife preggo. And now not only does he have a big wad to spend on the wedding that he's wondering how he's going to pay for it, but on top of that, now he's got diapers to pay for and university and college and all the stuff down the pipe. Life ain't getting any cheaper. Lord knows, I got 4 kids, so I'm intimately acquainted with that. Inflation's a real thing. And so now he's in freak out mode because now he knows his expenses are going up. He's only closing like 1 deal a month, if that. And it's a roller coaster. He never knows from one month to the next how he's going to pay the bills. And then on top of that, his wife's income is dropping by 30% because she's going on maternity leave. So now he's really in freak out mode. And on top of that, he made these bold, big, beautiful promises to his bride to be that, hey, I'm going to win as a broker. I'm going to give you a great life. You're not going to have to worry about it. We're doing this for the family. And he's getting his ass kicked on the front lines of capitalism, doing 1 deal a month and no end in sight, no growth in his pipeline. And he's floundering and he's losing sleep and he's in anxiety and worry and he doesn't know what to do. So by God's grace and providence, he saw this weird bald dude on Facebook with his crazy weird ads, got his attention, clicked on it, watched our masterclass, booked a call. We had an honest conversation about where he's at, where he wants to be, and the rest is history. He decided to pull the trigger, say, screw it, let's do it. He had to, get very resourceful to figure out how he's going to do it, but the committed always find a way. So he found a way, and the rest is history. We taught him how to land a small stable of top producing realtors. It took some time. Took him a good 3 months to get up to speed, build some momentum. He landed a handful of partners over the first 3 months. And what was amazing about Mark, and you know this, Penny, because you were part of his journey, he was just so consistent and persistent. He just kept showing up. He kept showing up to the Q&A calls. He kept booking the appointments. He kept doing the appointments. He kept getting a little better. He'd trip on his lips because he didn't know what he didn't know, but you got to be bad before you can be good. We seek progress, not perfection. And he just drank the Kool-Aid. I mean, he was in it to win it. And next thing you know, within 11 months of landing on Planet Prosper and implementing our system and really pursuing mastery with our system, he turned his annual income, where he was making $90K before tax, was more like $60K after tax. He turned his annual income into his quarterly income. And now that's just his floor, not his ceiling. Like, he went from 1 deal a month a year prior to getting into Planet Prosper. Actually, it was 11 months prior to getting onto Planet Prosper. And then fast forward 11 months, in June of 2025, he closed 14 deals. 14 deals.
Wow.
The following month, 17 deals. Like, he just went stratospheric. And the life-changing impact of that, like, we're friends on Facebook. I'm seeing the guy adventuring around the world. He's in Barcelona right now with his beautiful bride and his little kid, and they're adventuring, just having the time of their life, the magic moments, the adventures, the fun in the sun, just soaking up the history and the culture and the intimacy and connection with his lady. And he's making champion money. He's showing up as the hero for his family. Like, man, that never gets old. Helping someone achieve that. Like, he'd still be stuck in I can't afford it prison if he had not figured out how to crack the code on how to win in the wild. And if he's still floundering like he was 11 months ago. So that's the stuff that, really gets me juiced and fired up. And that's why we do what we do. True.
Wow. I really, really love that, Doran. I love the passion that you have to help all of these mortgage pros and showing them how they can take things to the next level. It's just such an incredible journey that we get to take the pleasure of watching prosper. So I absolutely love that.
Agreed. And what's amazing too is he closed 14 deals and 17 deals back to back over the span of 2 months, just 11 months, 12 months after enrolling in Planet Prosper. And that was from just 5 solid partners. Five solid partners sending like 2 or 3 deals a month. And now, they've made Mark their go-to mortgage pro, and they're sending all their buyers all the time. And he was new to the broker space. He didn't have much experience, but we made up for where he lacked in experience with unique value with the dozen deal formula that we're mapping out in this book.
Wow, that's incredible. Mark's journey was such a powerful one for sure. And to go from 14 deals to 17 deals in the course of, 2 months, he did 14 deals 1 month, 17 deals the next month. That's like more than a year of business from what he did in his past.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's really incredible.
So now he's going from his annual income to his monthly income. That's the next step.
Yes, yes, he is on that path. I
That's
absolutely love that.
that's what I call making Barcelona money, freedom money.
No kidding. Wow. So, what is the fastest someone has gone from average partnerships to landing their first dozen deal partner? What does that look like?
You know what? It's hard to say the exact number, because there is a foundation that we lay with the mindset and the skill set it takes to intelligently, strategically, and confidently attract elite realtor partners. So obviously, you're not going to land on Planet Prosper and learn that in a day. Uh, the same way you would not learn how to be proficient at the right biomechanics with kicking and punching in martial arts in a day, right? It's going to take some reps, it's going to take some time. But certainly very much common to see people go from a standing start to landing their first partner within 3 to 4 weeks.
Wow, that's incredible, especially because it's so important that they set that foundation right at first. So, that's incredible. 30 days, 30 days, guys. That's
Yes.
incredible.
Lots can happen in
Wow.
30 days. Lots can happen in 90 days. Lots can happen in 6 months. But certainly 90 days of really drinking the Kool-Aid and being in it to win it with this formula, you can get to the place where you're making more money in 1 month than you used to make in 3 to 4 months, at least having the foundation with the stable of elite realtors within 3 months to do so.
Yes. So, let's dive into that a little more, Doran. I love talking about mindset. So, why do most mortgage pros chase any agent with a pulse instead of focusing on elite realtors? What's the mindset shift that needs to happen there?
It's a great question. There's a lot that goes into it. I don't know if I can pinpoint one thing because there's so many different things that coalesce into the stinking thinking and the excusitis and the procrastination and all the BS that swirls in our head that stops us from winning on the front lines of capitalism as mortgage pros. But I'd say one of the biggest things is that they've never been taught how to do it. And because they don't know what they don't know, they just follow the herd of what everyone else does, what everyone else knows, which is showing up to open houses unannounced, unsolicited. And they're kind of like the stalker who just comes in and is trying to we all know the elephant in the room is that you're trying to leech loans, but no one's saying it. But that's the elephant in the room. And the trunk is kind of like smacking you in the forehead and is smacking the agent in the forehead. And no one really talks about it, but it's the unspoken thing, right? And a big part of it, it's not the mortgage pro's fault. No one's taught them how to do it. It's like you go to mortgage school, you don't get taught how to attract elite realtor partners. You don't get taught how to become a masterful marketer. You get taught on compliance guidelines and the mechanics and all the rules and regulations and how to find a home for the loan and how to underwrite a deal and that kind of basic mechanical operations type stuff. But so you become an operator, but an operator doesn't bring in deals. An operator just closes deals that come in, but who's going to go hunt for those deals? That's the marketer. And if you become a great operator, you make a living. You become a great marketer, you can make a fortune. So a big part of it is no one's been taught. Very few people have been taught. And the things that the broker owner will teach their underlings worked maybe 5, 10, 15 years ago, but it doesn't really work anymore. It's like buying crappy internet leads. That's definitely hit the point of diminishing returns a long time ago. Cold calling realtors, that's definitely hit the point of diminishing returns a long time ago. That's like banging your head against a brick wall and herding cats. So, a lot of this stuff that used to work and used to allow mortgage pros to win doesn't work anymore. And yet we're still operating from the same old playbooks. And what happens is we end up being at the effect of the consequence of just being a me too marketer. You've got competitive rates, me too. You've got all these creative alternative lending programs, me too. You've got a great brand, me too. It's like, so what? You're a replaceable commodity. And the result of being a replaceable commodity is that you are perceived by the agent as a replaceable commodity at best and unwanted pest at worst. So you become like the lone leech mortgage parasite, the stalker, the annoying person that they just want to shake off. You become that pesky pest. Or like, seriously, I don't have time for this. I've already got 12 calls this week from mortgage agents, mortgage brokers, loan officers. I don't need another loan leech in my life. Thanks, but no thanks. You become the annoying pest instead of the welcome guest. And the outcome of that is energetically, you feel sucky about it, right? You just like, this is not what I want to do. Call reluctance becomes a very real and apt response internally because you keep getting the brush offs. I already have a mortgage lender or a mortgage broker. Thanks, but no thanks. I'm not interested. Call me back tomorrow. They never pick up the phone. They ghost you. So it whittles down your confidence, call by call, no show by no show. Wasted time with fruitless toil day after day. It's like death by a million razor cuts. It's just like you're bloodletting all your confidence. And then you stop doing the activities because you're like, why bother? And then you just start to feel this stagnation because you know you should be doing more, but you're not. You know you should be being more proactive, but you're not. And so it becomes this downward cycle of suck where you start to beat yourself up. I should be doing this. I should be doing that. I'm not producing. I'm not performing. I'm not profiting. And that also whittles down the confidence, the mojo, the swagger factor, the certainty. And it starts to create this sense of scarcity and fear where you'll take any mortgage or you'll take any real estate agent with a pulse who can fog a mirror who will send you a deal, let alone do a meeting with you. Like you'll take anything because you're living in this scarcity place. And that's the complete opposite of the dozen deal partner mindset, where it's like, I've got the cookie, I've got the unique value, I got what they need and want, I've got the gift. The question is, are they ready for the gift? The question is not whether I have the gift. The question is whether they're ready for the gift. That's a very different mindset than the average mortgage pro who every day is just hoping a realtor with a pulse will give them the time of day to have even a conversation, let alone send a deal. So that is all inextricably linked with the fact that they've never been taught how to hunt in the wild like a wild Kodiak when it comes to how to attract the elite realtors. And therefore, the default setting is they are seen by these agents as a dispensable, replaceable commodity. And that is no way to win on the front lines of capitalism. You've got to be irreplaceable and indispensable. You've got to position yourself as the irreplaceable hero. And that's precisely what this book teaches you how to do.
Wow, that's incredible. Well, I really love that, Doran. So I was thinking about something that you've talked about in the book, and something you often talk about actually is you mentioned that elite partners actually require less time, which is something it's kind of hard for us to wrap our brains around, but partners actually require less time and create less stress. How is that even possible when they do the kinds of volume that they do?
It's a really great question. Now, there are some nuances and caveats to that claim, right? If a agent is doing a deal a year and they send you one prospect who gets pre-approved per year, obviously that's not going to take you much time. But when it comes to deal for deal, lead for lead, app for app, the elite agents will require less time, less energy, less maintenance than the bottom feeders, the struggle bunnies, as we like to call them, primarily for two reasons. One is they're better leaders. We've talked about that before, right? Mm-hmm. Everything rises and falls on leadership. As the upper echelon leadership coach, John Maxwell, once aptly said, everything rises and falls on leadership. So based on that as a undeniable truth, the elite agents tend to be better leaders, not because they were born better leaders, but because they invested in themselves to become better leaders. They read the books, they went to the seminars, they became part of the mastermind groups, they curated a dream team around them where they're not the smartest person in the room, the brightest light bulb in the room, so that they could up-level their leadership, so they can lift that leadership lid that was capping their capacity to grow. And for that, and because of that, and perhaps it's kind of like the chicken and the egg, which one was the beginning? Was it the fact that they were humble, that they sought that outside counsel and advice to grow? Or was it that they just simply had that hunger for growth, that had the right people around them that made them more humble? Maybe it was both. But better leaders tend to be more humble. And when you have people in your dream team on your stable that are more humble, they're just so much more pleasant to work with. They own their mistakes. They ask for forgiveness when they mess up. They tend not to point fingers and blame other people, but take ownership for their side of the street of what they contributed to in terms of the problem, or how they might have increased the likelihood of that problem happening because of their neglect or their compromise, or the fact that they just didn't know what they didn't know. The bottom line is they take ownership. Better leaders take ownership. So they're just much less taxing to work with, because when everyone on the dream team is taking ownership of their side of the street, everyone is more likely to receive counsel, feedback, corrective feedback, insight on how we can improve and assimilate it and thirst for it and want it and say, thank you. That was not what I wanted to hear, but it's what I needed to hear. And I own that. Like, that is like breath of fresh air in contrast to the blamers, the complainers, the ones that are constantly like looking at a scapegoat outside of themselves for why they're not winning or why something didn't work. It's often said in the rules of leadership that when you win, you give your team credit. And when you lose, you take the blame. You take extreme ownership. And there's a lot of truth to that. That's just the timeless truth of leadership. So they're better leaders. That's one reason why they require less time. They're less of an energy suck and they're less stress. The other reason is they have a better process. Because they're better leaders, they don't want to be stuck in the minutia of loan level issues or transaction level issues or client service level issues all day, every day. Like, that's just like cyanide to the soul for a leader, right? You know what I'm talking about, right, Penny?
Oh, yes.
Like being in the minutia of paperwork and all that, like, gag, right? One day is too much for that, let alone living in that all day, every day. So because of that, and because they're better leaders, they tend to put more systems in place. They put more team in place. They tend to be more apt to build a team and systems-based business versus a me-based business, so that they give more things to their team to do, and they want to be extracted from the day-to-day. They don't want to have to babysit. They don't want to have to be crossing every T and dotting every I in their operations. That's why they have administrators on their team to do that stuff, so they can focus on dancing in their strengths, bringing in more deals, operating in their superpowers. They do what I say, what I call, do what you do best, get the best to do all the rest. That's the mantra of an elite top producer. And so they have a process for that. They have playbooks that undergird their operations, policy, procedure, protocol, systems, automations. That's what elite leaders live and breathe and eat for breakfast all day, every day. And because of that, it's like, okay, I have a particular role that is invaluable to the conversion of these leads, and that is a mortgage pro. I'm not here to babysit you. I'm here to empower you, to equip you to knock it out of the park in your role. So I'm here as a resource to support you. If you need anything to support you in your role, I'm here to do so, but I'm not here to babysit you. And if I have to babysit you, you're not the right person for the role. That's how an elite realtor thinks and operates. And if you have agents that don't operate that way, you're working with the wrong agents. So that's how elite partners actually require less time, less stress, and are a whole lot more fun and a whole lot more fruitful to work with.
Excellent. That makes a lot of sense. My own personal experience dealing with elite realtor partners, they are absolutely great leaders, and they do have tremendous processes in place. So you really hit a home run with that one, Doran, for sure. So when a mortgage pro is approaching these agents, what would you say is like the biggest mistake that they make when they're trying to approach these top producing elite realtors?
Well, they make the mistake not because they mean to, but because they don't know what they don't know, right? That's the biggest expense we have in our business, is the realm called we don't know what we don't know. Alex Hormozy calls it the debt of ignorance. And it's a hefty interest we pay. I've often heard it said as well that when we don't know what we don't know, we're likely to pay a hefty tuition to the university of not knowing In this case, how to attract these elite realtors can cost us dearly, because what happens by default is it's kind of like if you want to attract a mouse, you know that mice love cheese, but they hate whiskers, especially if those whiskers are big and they're attached to a feline, right? Because they know that thing wants to eat it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's called a cat, right? So if you want to attract a mouse, you want to just show them cheese. And the problem with a lot of these mortgage brokers and mortgage pros out there is that they've never been taught how to be effectively cheesy, where they can really make the cheese, if you know what I mean, right? This is probably the only context in business where it pays to be cheesy, right? You want to make the cheese, you got to be cheesy with attracting these mice, but instead you're showing your whiskers, right? And you're unwittingly showing the whiskers. And the reason you're doing that is you're coming off as a lone leech mortgage parasite instead of a value creator. And you're selling whatever you're offering, your company, loan programs. You're selling your gizmos, your gadgets, your membership sites to some cool whiz bang tool that can help your agents win. You're selling. The problem with that is if you're selling without first vetting to determine if they qualify, the more you sell, the more you repel. Because the more you sell, it's like whiskers. I'd love to learn more about your business. I'd love to learn how I can help you. Whiskers. I'd love to show you my loan programs, how I can help you close more deals. Whiskers. And you're like, Dorn, well, that's what I have to offer. What am I supposed to do? Not sell at all? Exactly. Don't sell. Let them know that you've got something of value that they care about, but let them know, hey, they're not the only one who's a candidate that's being vetted to determine who qualifies to get the good stuff, the cheese that you're offering. So that's the biggest mistake, is they're selling instead of vetting, and they're showing up as a lone leech versus a value creator.
I'm afraid of cats. Cats scratch. Cats have whiskers. So that's something we definitely want to avoid. So if someone's listening right now, they're relying on a few of those mediocre realtor relationships right now. What's your advice? Should they dump them all? What should they do?
Well, chances are most of the people listening or watching this could benefit from a good, healthy team enema, flushing out some dead relationships that don't deserve to roll with you, or just frankly are dead weight. So that would give you an instant influx of revitalization in your energetic frequency. Just letting go of some of the drama queens, the prima donnas, the ones that you've been cussing behind the scenes, under your breath, like, oh, that person drives me crazy. And yet you enable it, because what you tolerate, you enable, and what you enable persists. So you're actually part of the problem by enabling it, because you allow it. And when you allow and tolerate it, and you continually whine, sniffle, complain to your significant other or to your colleagues about this person, but you don't talk to them straight about what doesn't work and what your values are and what your policy procedures are, what your standards are in terms of how your team members need to operate if they're going to roll with you, then that's on you, not them. So a lot of people just don't have the courage or maybe the leadership wherewithal to know how to navigate those difficult relationships. That's another big part of what we teach on Plan to Prosper, is how to own your power in those relationships, not to be, a jerk, not to be prideful and arrogant, but just to own the truth of what do you value? What's important to you and your dream team? What values and virtues are important for you to have on your team? What are the musts that your team members need to operate in, such as integrity, such as honor, respect, such as having the right roles and responsibilities for each team member, where you stay in your lane. You do what you do best. You get to best to do all the rest. You're not babysitting someone else when now all of a sudden you're crossing over from your lane to their lane, when they should be just doing what they do best so you can be freed up to do what you do best. You need to have clarity on that. And if you don't, well, then that's on you, because you can't get them to uphold a standard you don't even know exists for yourself, right? So some of y'all need to do a team enema, just saying. You know who you are. And some of y'all need to do what we call the B&R, the bless and release, where you bless and release the wrong people so you can make space for the right people. Because if you don't make space for the right people, then you're going to be clogged up and constipated with the wrong people. And that's where the team enema comes in, to be able to create that space and create that fresh new blood with new vitality. Now, you might have some team members that aren't in the B and R category. They're not annoying enough to, bless and release, but they're like, this is a diamond in the rough. This is someone who is operating way below their capacity. You know that they have what it takes to be a top producer. They got the humility, they got the hunger, they got the hustle. They just need a little help. And perhaps you're the one to step up as a leader in their life, to let them know who they are. Remind them that they're the eagle who's meant to soar, not scratch around the chicken while the kitchen, easy for me to say, not scratch around in the chicken yard with the chickens, but to soar with the eagles. Remind them that they are indeed an eagle. Maybe it's your opportunity to upgrade them to be a VIP partner in your VIP partnership program, which, by the way, will teach you what that is inside the book, building a dream team of elite realtors. And elite realtors aren't necessarily just top producers. They're top producers to be. And you can fan that flame. You can be that spark and show them how to really shine. Take those diamonds in the rough and have them be gleaming, beaming diamonds because of your influence, your impact, your servants, your service, and your support. And so that's something that you'll just need to discern. Who is someone worth investing in? And those are the ones that perhaps you would upgrade to become VIP partners. And then, of course, you want a cadence on the daily. We call that the hour of power, Monday to Friday, from maybe like 9:30 to 10:30, whatever time works for you in the morning, where you're either reaching out to elite agents that don't know you yet to have a conversation to see if they're the right fit to become a VIP partner, or you're upgrading warm contact realtors maybe you're already working with or know, and you're having a conversation if indeed they're that diamond in the rough that perhaps has the potential to really shine with your help and your support.
Got it. So sounds like we need to bless and release those drama queens and definitely massage and really grow those diamonds in the rough. So finding our tribe is definitely a very, very important part of this whole process. So I love that, Doran. Thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to segue a little bit here into maybe a little bit of the part of the book here. So you talk about the 7 gaps that cost top realtors hundreds of thousands annually. And, that's a lot of money. So can you give us 2 to 3 specific examples that our listeners could use this week to help them?
Absolutely. One of the biggest misnomers that a lot of mortgage pros have is that they're like, well, I don't have a buyer or a seller to bring to these realtors, so I got nothing. I'm going to have to just rely on competitive rates and great service. What else do I have? I got nothing. I'm a one-trick pony here. And that's where these 7 gaps are really powerful, because what we do on Planet Prosper is we teach mortgage pros how to become professional diagnosticians, if you will. I don't even know if that's a word, but it sounds cool. So we'll go with that. Dornies. And these 7 gaps are areas where we can diagnose where the real estate agent is leaving money on the table, meat on the bone, juice in the fruit, if you will. So for example, even elite realtors oftentimes have huge numbers of dead leads from like realtor.com, or in the US, Zillow is a big lead provider. And because they get enough wins from it to justify the expense, they keep doing it, or they did it in the past and then they stopped because they hit the point of diminishing returns, but they still have this huge list that they're doing nothing with. It's just sitting there collecting dust, where you can, if you knew how, which again is what we teach on Planet Prosper, is the how, you can turn those dead leads from being in their trash can to being in their cash can, and resurrect those dead leads into hot for what you got pre-approved buyers with an automated dead lead resurrection campaign. And when they close a deal for 8, 10, 15K, they wouldn't have gotten otherwise because of your help with this dead lead resurrection campaign. They're going to be laughing all the way to the bank with a big smile on their face, in spite of the fact you didn't have a deal in your back pocket, You help them squeeze more juice from the fruit that they were already squeezing. So that's the power of this. Same thing with Google reviews. A lot of these realtors, they don't have a system for getting Google reviews, or they're getting reviews, but they're getting them on Zillow or Facebook or some, Yelp or something like that. The most important one is Google. Or they're asking for reviews, but they're only asking by email, not by text. Or they're asking for reviews by text. They're getting the Google review, but they're not following up with non-responders. Or they're following up with non-responders. They're getting lots of Google reviews, but they're not asking for referrals of people who gave them a review. And think about it. Who better to send a referral than someone who just gave a 5-star review? That's like the most high potential source of referrals you could ever have in your database. Your raving fans. And then another example, a lot of these, even top dogs, don't even use CRMs, believe it or not. Some of them are just like winning in spite of themselves. Or they're doing open house events, and it's just paper and pen, like dinosaur method, right? It's the 21st century. There's something called a QR code. So you can show them how they're leaving a lot of money on the table, not using a QR code for guest registry at their open houses, and then have an automated system to follow up, not just by email, but by text and by telephone. And you could be the one who's helping them monetize those leads, because I guarantee you their current mortgage pro is not. So those are a few of the ways where realtors are leaving hundreds of thousands of dollars on the table, and how you can be the solution. And when you become that solution, you become irreplaceable and indispensable.
Wow. Sounds like there's some opportunity there with money being left on the table for sure.
Absolutely. And what's great about this is that these realtors don't have anyone to turn to fix these problems, because usually they just are so busy with the day-to-day minutia that they're not going to go. You can't just Google search the solution to a lot of this stuff. And if they could, it's going to be way too time consuming and convoluted, and they're just going to get in their own way. They're not going to do it. So if you can help them execute, because they get paid on done, not begun, that's how you win, and that's how you help your partners win.
Excellent. So another question I've got for you here, Doran. What's the difference between being a loan leech versus a value creator in terms of the practical terms?
Well, clearly a leech is not nearly as much fun to hang out with, right? Like
Definitely.
I went to a cabin that I rented out for a week with my family a few years ago. Beautiful place, just pristine and serene, just beautiful. Save one small problem. They had leeches in the water. I'd never swam so fast in my life to get out of that flipping water. Like as soon as I knew that there was leeches in the water, I'm like in and out. And it's disconcerting to be in that water. They're trying to latch onto you, right? Like I'm not running, I'm swimming. If I could run, I would, but I'm in water. So I'm swimming fast to get out of there. And likewise with your realtors, that's what they do. As soon as they get a sense you're trying to get something from them, and you're just trying to leech loans, because that's what all the other Tom, Dick, and Harry loan officers, mortgage brokers are doing. They're calling them up. How was your weekend? How is your open houses? You got anyone who needs peer approval? Leech. You might as well just fire off a big leech siren, right? So that's the loan leech. It's like you're just another Me Too marketer. You're just coming to get for yourself. You're a go-getter. You're not a go-giver. And they're not going to give you the time of day. And if they do, there'll be a bottom feeder that's like, oh, so nice to have someone call me. I know you're not a client, but at least someone wants me, right? Those are the bottom feeders. They're just happy to have a conversation and feel wanted, but they're not going to send you any business because they don't have any business. So it's kind of like going to the proverbial dance and you're a dude and, you're terrible at dancing and your hygiene is not great. And your approach is very awkward. You're very socially awkward. And so the only ones that will dance with you are the ugly girls because they're awkward too. So, you're a great fit for each other, but it's not nearly as exciting as dancing with the hot girls, right? Now I'm a dude, so all the dudes will be able to relate to that. Penny, I'm sorry. You're going to have to translate. You're going to have to translate for the ladies. I'll leave that one in your capable hands. Okay.
That sounds good.
We'll have to do a ladies only podcast, just translate all my weird metaphors and analogies.
We'll do the ladies version.
Yeah. But the value creator is like, That's where you bring buyers and sellers to the table. That's where you bring solutions to the table. That's where you help them generate more juice from the squeeze. That's where you help them get more from what they're doing in. It's not about putting in more hours, but getting more from the hours they're putting in. It's not about generating more leads, but converting more of the leads into closings, right? Into cash in their wallet. So, and it's about being exclusive, where it's like, I'm not going to give this gift to everybody, anyone with a pulse of fog and mirror. I'm only going to give it to like 10 elite agents. And I'm interviewing right now. I can't make any promises. There is a vetting process. There is a interview process. But if we discern and decide we're the right fit, mark my words, you will not only close more deals with less effort, you're going to have a whole lot more fun, and you're going to be a whole lot more fruitful in the process. The question is not whether or not I'm going to identify 10 elite agents in this area that we're going to absolutely send stratospheric. The question is whether or not it's going to be you. That's the mindset behind a value creator. It's that kind of relaxed confidence. It's exclusive. It's by invitation only. And now you're determining not just who you can help, but who you want to help. Notice those are two distinct things. Is this someone I can help? Is this someone I want to help? And the elite, the value creator is about making sure that they never compromise on those two standards. Someone they can help, someone they want to help, because they know in their heart they can have it exactly the way they want it if they don't settle.
Okay. So the message I'm picking up here is we need to be value creators, not lone leeches at the bottom line of this one.
Unless you're content making struggle bus money, then you can keep doing what you're doing and keep getting what you've been getting. It's always an option.
That's true. That's true. So we've covered a lot of topics today, Doran. So if someone could only implement one thing from this conversation today, what would it be? What would have the biggest impact on attracting new elite realtor partners?
Don't settle for the ugly girls. No, I'm just playing. I mean, maybe that's what you needed to hear today. Don't settle for the ugly girls. But I think deeper and more profound than that is you're not in the mortgage business. You think you're in the mortgage business, but you're not really in the mortgage business. You're in the elite realtor attraction business. That's the business you're in. And once you latch in on that, you own that, you assimilate that and integrate that into your soul, it's going to change the priorities of what you spend your time on, what you spend your money on, how you structure your day, how you do your proactive lead generation activities. It's going to order all those steps. It's going to put everything into right order, because that one skill is the single most profitable skill in your business. The skill of attracting elite agents who can send you 1, 2, 3 deals a month versus 1, 2, 3 deals a year. And all you need is 5 to 10 of those to be making freedom money. It doesn't take many of those to change your life.
Incredible. You know, it's interesting because earlier in the conversation today, we actually talked about, what we learn in the mortgage business, right? And typically the things we learn is, compliance and paperwork and regulatory things and, all of the specifics with underwriting your deals and getting it approved. But none of us learn how to really become great marketers. And so it's really compelling, when you've talked about this and saying that, you're in the elite realtor attraction business. That is so true. Truer words have never been said. So that's really, really powerful, Doran. And I think your book covers so much of that. And I was so excited to read it myself. So I think our listeners should be getting a copy as well. So I would love to hear from you. How did they get a copy of your book?
Well, we got a dedicated page, just so happens, put up online just for our exclusive podcast subscribers and viewers and listeners. And it's not up right now as I record this with you, Penny, but by the time this hits the streets, it will be live and ready. It is dozendealpartner.com/podcast. That's a dedicated page they're going to put up to give you guys access to the book. And I'm going to give you guys a coupon code to utilize for the book so that you guys can get a little something special not everyone would normally get access to. And so that coupon code is podcast. very simply, podcast. If you will put that coupon code into the cart when you purchase my book, you're going to get 50% off, just so you can't say I never spoil you.
Wow, that's incredible. Well, Doran, this has been an incredible podcast that we've done today. It's something outside of the normal for what we normally do, because I think it was really important that we talked about your new book, and how exciting it is and how it's changing lives. There's so many countless stories of success stories within Mortgage Marketing Coach. And I think it was really great for us to cover how some of those people are doing those things today. And that's really what the book touches on. Well, Doran, today was absolutely spectacular. Thank you so much for sharing all of that incredible information. I think your book really touches on some really important points that mortgage pros really could hugely benefit from, if hugely is a word. They could hugely benefit from that. And so I'm so excited that this new book is out and available. And please, guys, pick up your copy of Doran's book if you haven't already gotten it. It's definitely going to do a little bit of a mind shift there, and you're going to find some huge opportunities to grow stratospheric in your business. So, Doran, before we sign off today, do you have any final words that you'd like to leave us with?
Well, for the sake of brevity, I'm just going to borrow from the late and great Jim Rohn. It's hard to go wrong with Jim Rohn. He had a saying, and I just love this truth so much. I want to share it with you. And that is, the book you don't read can't help you. So you're going to pay the price either way. You're going to pay a very small price for the book that has the power to change your life forever, or you'll pay a very much heftier price to the university of not knowing how to attract these elite realtors, not knowing how to position yourself as the welcome guest and by default be seen as the annoying pest, not knowing how to be a value creator and by default being seen as a loan leech mortgage parasite, and having your true potential, your highest potential, being left on the table and scraping by and settling for a second best life because you didn't know what you didn't know. So the book you don't read can't help you. Give yourself the gift, invest in the book, and I guarantee if you apply even just a little bit of what you learn in the book, it will certainly not only be worth the investment of the money, but it will save you an enormous amount of time. It'll help you get more juice from the squeeze. And I have a feeling it's going to allow you to create some phenomenal partnerships that will give you rich dividends for years to come. And if you dig what you got from today, be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss future episodes. And thank you in advance for sharing this episode with your colleagues, your mortgage buddies. If you feel that we deserve a 5-star review, please do. It helps us reach awesome mortgage pros just like you. So thanks for hanging with us, guys. It's been a real joy to do this episode with you, Penny. You did an amazing job. And so thank you for playing a team with me on this. This was a fun one.
It absolutely was. And thank you so much again, Doran.
Thank you. It was a privilege and a joy. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll see you on the next podcast episode. Peace, y'all. Thanks for being with us.